You view it as a dirty tap. When you switch a dirty tap on, it's going to flow shit water out for a substantial amount of time, and then clean water is going to start flowing. And now and then you'll get a bit of shit, but as long as it gets out of you, it's fine.
Seriously, when was the last time you actually finished a brilliant idea? Like, genuinely brought it to life, instead of just letting it fade away? Yeah, you probably can't even remember. Because you killed it. Your own brain literally executed your best ideas before they could even catch a breath. Do me a favor and pull out your phone right now. Skip the socials, skip your notifications, and open up your Notes app. Or if you're at your desk, scroll to the absolute bottom of your hard drive. Look, what you're staring at right now, that's not just data. It's a straight-up graveyard. It's a massive, silent digital cemetery packed with half-written scripts, melodies you never recorded, and side hustles you abandoned after writing down 3 bullet points. And we all tell ourselves the exact same comforting lie to feel better about it. We look at those drafts and say, oh, I'm just waiting for the right time. Or, I just have too much respect for my craft to put out something unpolished. We wear our perfectionism like some sort of badge of honor, like it means we have a sophisticated soul. But let's stop romanticizing this and be brutally real for a second. You didn't rebrand perfectionism. You just slapped a luxury label on your own cowardice. Perfectionism is the ultimate psychological shield. It's there to protect your fragile ego from being judged by the real world. Think about it. As long as that video stays locked inside your head, it's a masterpiece. As long as that book remains unwritten, you're still an undiscovered genius. The fantasy of what you could create is totally safe, pristine, and flawless. But the second you hit record, that fantasy dies. You're suddenly forced to face the massive gap between the incredible symphony playing in your head and the awkward reality of your actual hands. And honestly, that gap scares the living hell out of us. We've somehow decided that living as a theoretical genius is better than living as a flawed, practicing amateur. So we choose the easiest escape route available. We choose to do absolutely nothing. So why are we all so paralyzed lately? Well, look around. We're living in a giant digital fishbowl. Every single day, the algorithm shoves hyper-curated, flawlessly optimized masterpieces right down our throats. We watch video essays with Hollywood-level cinematography and scroll past Instagram feeds that look like they were designed by a team of high-end architects. Our brains have been totally brainwashed to only see the final 1% of the creative process. The algorithm hides the other 99%. It completely covers up the sweating, the crying, the self-loathing, and the mountain of absolute garbage those creators had to climb over just to get that one polished moment. So we end up with this deeply warped expectation of our own work. We expect our very first draft to look like a final edition. And God forbid we ever look cringe, right? In today's internet culture, putting out an unpolished mistake isn't just an error. It's a social death sentence. We carry ourselves like actors trapped in the Truman Show, terrified that if we break character for even a second, the audience will tune out. But here's the absolute kicker. We are breaking our backs chasing perfection at the exact moment perfection has become dirt cheap. Think about it. With generative AI, literally anyone can create a technically perfect image or a grammatically flawless essay in 3 seconds flat. Perfection has been automated. It's no longer a sign of human talent. It's just a commodity. If you spend all your time and energy trying to make your work look frictionless, robotic, and unassailable, you aren't making high-quality art. You're just doing the job of a machine. What people are actually starving for right now isn't more polished curation. It's humanity. And humanity, by definition, is messy, awkward, and deeply imperfect.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell that it's still sort of crappy, If you're just starting off and you're entering into that phase, you gotta know it's totally normal, and the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work.
This is the exact fork in the road where 90% of people throw in the towel. They look at the gap between their taste and their actual ability. They feel a deep sense of shame, and they think, well, I guess I just don't have the talent. But they're completely missing the point. That gap isn't a sign to stop. It's a prerequisite for growth. You cannot skip the bad phase. It's not an optional hurdle. It's the raw material you need to build excellence. Think back to when you were 5 years old. You'd grab a box of crayons, scribble a lopsided neon green house with a stick figure family, proudly slap it on the fridge. You didn't ask for a peer review. You didn't calculate the algorithmic retention of your drawing. You just made it because the human spirit is wired to express itself. But then you grew up. You learned to be self-conscious. You realized the world was watching and judging, so you made a tragic deal. You traded the joy of creating for the safety of being invisible. Let this sink in. Bad is not the opposite of good. Bad is the soil that good grows in. The distance between doing nothing and making something terrible is astronomical. But the distance between something terrible and something great, that's tiny. That's just editing. That's just practice. Every single icon you look up to started out making things that were genuinely, embarrassingly awful. Before Christopher Nolan made The Dark Knight, he was running around London with a handheld camera, shooting a black and white indie movie called Following on a Shoestring Budget with his buddies. The lighting was terrible, the sound design was raw, and the actors were amateurs. It was deeply unpolished. But if he had waited until he had a $100 million studio budget to tell a story, he'd still be sitting in a cafe today, talking about the movie he wished he could make. The animation giant Pixar actually has an internal philosophy that every single employee lives by. They call it protecting the ugly babies. When a Pixar movie is in its early stages, the first storyboards are absolute trash. The plots have massive holes, and the jokes completely fall flat. If an executive looked at those early drafts expecting a finished masterpiece, they would cancel every single project. But they don't. They protect the ugly baby because they know a masterpiece isn't born perfect. It's sculpted out of the mud over years of painful rewrites. Right now, your creative output is an ugly baby, and instead of protecting it and letting it grow through practice, you're suffocating it because it doesn't look like a fully grown adult yet. We forget that our worst work can hold crazy, unpredictable power. Your terrible first draft might have one single sentence that saves someone's day. You don't have the right to deny the world your perspective just because you're scared of looking foolish. The world does not need another spectator sitting comfortably on the sidelines, waiting until they're perfectly safe to pitch in. The sidelines are already packed. The comment sections are full. We are suffocating under a blanket of artificial, hyper-optimized perfection. What we actually need are people brave enough to get into the arena and look a little ugly. People who are willing to stumble, fail in public, and create anyway. The only way out of the perfectionism trap is to run straight through the cringe. So consider this your official, legally binding permission slip. Go make some absolute garbage today. Your bad art is infinitely more valuable than your perfect silence. Because your good art, the work that will eventually define your life, will never, ever exist if you don't have the courage to make trash today. Stop performing. Shatter the dome. Pick up the brush, hit record, and make something terribly, beautifully, radically human. Make stuff. Make it bad. Make it anyway.